Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our final guest of the night, Jeff from JMJB Merchant Services. I didn't butcher it.
You did great, man. I'm proud of you. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Jeff is one of my Harvest members, one of my buddies. Actually, I credit you for making me feel comfortable. I knew a couple people in the Harvest, but you were the first one that reached out to me, and a stranger, and was like, hey, look, let's get together. We went and had coffee at Starbucks, and I was like, man, I feel really comfortable in here, because I wasn't really sure, going into the Harvest, when they say it's a networking group, I was like BNI, not really personal development group, and it was like a really awesome thing. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure, man. It was great. And, you were probably the first person that I was networking with in person through COVID that was drinking iced coffee in front of me.
Nice.
And it made me uncomfortable because I'm a hot coffee year-round guy.
Yeah.
But no, man, it was great getting together. And even though we're in, industries that you wouldn't necessarily think are referring to each other, it's more than just that,
sure.
Right? It's building relationships and lifting each other up. And, we've been on quite a cool journey, I would say, together, right?
For sure. So we'll talk a little bit about your business. We'll talk about the personal stuff afterwards, but give everyone an idea of what you do, what your business is, and more importantly, how you help consumers and business owners.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in the merchant services space. That is fancy language for credit card processing.
Okay.
So think about walking into a business and you buy something using a credit card. There's a company that sets that up for that particular business. Or going online and making a purchase through a website to buy something, there's a company that enables you to pay that business for their good or their service. So that's the industry that I work in. I've been doing it since 2005. I'd worked for 2 different companies that was, as a W-2 employee. And I love the experience of both of those because that's where I really learned the business. And then a couple years ago, went out on my own and decided, hey, why not give business owners options?
Yeah.
And I decided to broker credit card processing. So that's what I do today.
Awesome.
So
most people, non-super entrepreneurial business types, would go, credit card processing is credit card processing. What's the difference between one to another? So what separates you from any other credit card processing company that could be out there, as someone watching it would go, oh, shit, they do that? Really? What? That would really help me out.
Yeah, so great question. Thank you for asking that, because that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You can go to your bank and get credit card processing. You can go to Costco and get credit card processing for your business, believe it or not.
With your bananas.
With your bananas and your tires. It's a wild time to be alive. But where the difference with me and with my company lies is we broker. So we work with 9 different companies, and each one of those companies has their own technology that is proprietary to that particular credit card processor. When I say technology, I mean either a machine or a system. Like when you go to a restaurant, you see the servers tapping, what I mean, on that point of sale system. So because I work with 9 of them, I have access to 9 different point of sale systems and 9 different sets of technology that are proprietary to those credit card processors. So I can sit down with the business owner and say, hey, listen, you got something today. There's things about it that you really like that you don't want to see changed. What are those things? And by the way, there are things that you don't like or that you want to see improved upon. And because I've worked in this industry for 15 years, I can typically ask questions based on the industry to understand what those things are and kind of lead them down a path to say, oh, I can do that, or oh, I didn't realize that.
Sure.
And give them options.
And one of the things that I know you do, which is unlike other people and unlike most of the salespeople that are around today, you cold call. You know what I mean? I know you and Justin go around and you just show up places and walk in and interview people and talk to them. How do you do that, and why is it not why do you do that as opposed to most places that want to pay to get Facebook leads or marketing leads or kind of thing? Why do you prefer the elbow to elbow type sales?
So in my industry, we're talking about people's money. And in 2022 especially, we're talking about a large portion of their money. People aren't carrying cash. My kids would yell at me because whenever they say people, I respond to them, who are the people? most folks when they're out there aren't carrying cash. They're paying for things by credit card. So when I'm going in, it's important for that particular person to understand that there's a human that they're interacting with.
Sure.
And more importantly, someone who like, hey, here's my cell phone. It's the same cell phone that like my wife and my friends and like everyone calls me. It's the same number. Like I want to make sure that we have that level of interaction, because if we do decide to do business together, if we both think this is a good fit, I want you to understand that I'm going to be picking up the phone when you call on Saturday night, because I know that you're calling for a reason.
Right.
You're not calling to bust chops because you found me online, I got you something cheap, and now you're having issues.
Right.
So that's an important thing for me. And I love being around people. Right. And I love getting face to face. I love seeing different setups and different things that are happening within a store. And when you're out cold calling, you can see a lot more of what's happening that enable you to better position how you can help that business.
Right.
And sometimes I can't help that business, but someone that I network with really can.
Right.
And that's a really important thing to be able to do too.
Sure. You can hand off business and do a bunch of stuff. Now, I know a bunch about you personally, but one of the things that you've been doing in your journey has been 75 Hard,
Yeah, man.
getting yourself personally in better shape. Talk a little bit about your journey there and how this personal development journey that you've been on has affected you mentally, spiritually, and business-wise.
Yeah, man. So we'll skip back to early 2021. So I joined Harvest in late 2020. Like there were just a couple of us on those original calls, which was really cool when like they pop up in like my Facebook memories. And I'm like, oh, look, there's like 6 of us and all of us are really, really much heavier than we are now. But in early 2021, I saw Matt, Ron, and Pat Sapira like outside running in the snow and in the rain. And I like laughing to myself. I'm like, look at these guys. What are they doing? And then I looked at myself and I'm like, you know what, I should probably be doing some exercise at this point.
Yeah.
So actually I texted Justin because I heard that he was planning on doing 75 Hard. And he's like, yeah, man, this is probably like March-ish. He's like, yeah, I think I'm starting February 12th because he was going on vacation. And I was like, you know what, I'm in. Let's get weird. And decided to start on April 12th of 2021. That was the last time I smoked a cigarette before then. And since that day, I have not missed one day of exercising, period.
Right.
Period. Like for me, it's been a really important thing on my Apple Watch to close like my rings every single day. And I haven't missed one day, I would say, since then.
And how much weight have you lost? Not that weight is everything,
no,
but it's a fair scale to measure yourself on.
It's a very fair scale, and people. I've lost about 90 pounds from when I started into where I am right now. Yeah, which is like 70% of your body weight, right? I would say it was a big percentage.
Yeah.
So I mean, I started close to like 280,
right.
Like is where I started.
Yeah.
And right now, like I'm hovering probably like between 185 and 190.
Nice.
I was a little lighter, but I started doing a lot more lifting, which has been really cool because I can feel like how my body's transforming.
Yeah.
But for those of you out there, like it's a really important thing. We'll get back to 75 Hard in a second. For my whole life, people had shared with me, you know, if you eat healthy and you exercise, your body will be taken care of. And who would have thought that if you actually do those things, it works?
Yeah.
You know? Which blows your mind.
Yeah, as you're eating ding-dongs and ho-hos and everything else, like, oh, them suckers are out there.
What are they talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're talking
about.
Exercise.
You get a little healthy. You're like, wow, this stuff really works.
Yeah, and then you get addicted to it. So, you know, I started 75 Hard April 12th of 21, finished 75 days later, which was June something.
Right.
And then on July 4th, I decided, well, when I finished 75 Hard, I wanted to pursue and finish the entire Live Hard program. So on July 4th, part of phase 1 of the program, which is a second 30-day set of activities you have to accomplish in 30 days, each day for 30 days, I said, I'm going to try this right now, and I'm going to try taking a cold shower, because that was part of phase 1. Well, that day I started phase 1 because I was like, I don't want to take any more cold showers than I need to.
Yeah.
And that was day 1. So I finished phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and
do you do the cold showers at all anymore now that you're not on phase 1?
Occasionally, but not often. And I regret not going back to them because there's some really good benefit to it. But we can get to that. We can get to that for sure. But I'm on day 22 of 75 Hard again. I started with Tim. We decided to start on September 1st.
Yeah.
And I'm on day 22 and just continuing to rock and roll and go strong.
I told you 14. I think I'm on 18. I started on September 1st, and then like 2 days into it, I was at my fantasy football draft and I ate a bunch of pizza, so I started over again the next day. So I think it was like I think I'm on day 18, or I think yesterday was day 18. I don't know. I've done it a couple different times, and it's one of those things where I liked phase 1 the best.
Me too.
Because I do like the cold showers, although for some reason the gym that I go to, I can't take a cold shower. It won't get cold enough for me, so I have to do that at home. I really, really enjoy that. But also, there were the 3 extra activities on there. So like, even though it doesn't sound like a lot, my day was packed. My day was already busy before that. My day was packed. So I was doing all these things. And then when I got done and I went to do phase 2, it didn't seem as daunting anymore because I was doing all this other stuff. So now just the regular 75 hard phase 2 or the original 75 days doesn't seem like so insurmountable. And when I talk to people about it, they're like, you got to work out twice a day, every day. I'm like, yeah, but it's not like phase 1. Phase 1's, So I dig that. And I'm really looking forward to December 1st. I start my phase 3 because I did awesome. I did the original 75 days on January 1st of this year. So
I can't wait to hear how your experience with phase 3 is with some of the additional tasks that you do during phase 3. Specifically, the random acts of kindness and talking to a stranger.
I love that. I can't wait.
It is so cool, man.
Yeah.
It's so neat. I can't tell you. Like, I'm a friendly person.
Yeah.
I hold doors for people at Wawa. I talk to people while I'm making coffee. Like, I those are part of my normal thing. But when you have to be really intentional about it, it's different than when it's just part of your flow. So I can't wait to talk to you about it and hear your experiences.
My head tells me, oh, that's not tough. You talk to strangers every day. Whether if I'm in the gym and I don't know the dude in front of me, I'll talk to him. You know what I mean? But when it's part of a checklist of things you have to accomplish, I know there's going to be a couple days where it's 11 o'clock and I'll be home. I'll be like, I got to go to Wawa and go find a stranger to talk to for 5 minutes.
There were a couple times where like I made a run at like 8, 9 o'clock at night when like everything was done with the exception of that. And I'm like, how did I not talk to somebody today?
Yeah.
And I would go to the supermarket, walk in an aisle, and just strike up a conversation with someone random.
And hope they didn't call the cops and call you a creeper.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to pick. I tried to pick wisely, and I wasn't wearing like I wasn't wearing like the hood, and
the hoodie or anything like that. No Unabomber outfit.
I don't want to scare anybody.
Nice.
I'm very intimidating at 5'7". I don't want to really scare anybody.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But yeah, so the journey through 75 Hard has been absolutely life-changing. It's going to be something that I'm going to continue to do throughout the course of my life because it continues to bring you back to a place where you realize and recognize that you have control over yourself. You don't control over the things around you, and you can release that, and that can be that. But you have control over yourself and what you do. And it's a constant reminder and a constant way to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
And I love that I found it, and I'm just very fortunate that there's a group of people like yourself around me that you can kind of bounce along with.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that I really dig about the harvest, and I talk about it all the time. 75 Hard being like one of my real favorite things, and I really dig the zero option mentality of 75 Hard. Like now when I'm talking to people and they say whatever the thing is, I just think to myself, there's just no other option. You know what I mean? I'm going to do 2 workouts a day. If it's 11:15 and I only have 1 workout, I don't have an option.
Nope.
I'm going to go work out at 11:15. I walked in the snow at midnight, during one of them because that's just the way it is. No matter what happens, I am going to do all those tasks that I have to do in a day, and there's no option not to. It makes other things so much easier.
And that mentality rolls into every other part of your life,
sure,
right?
Sure.
And I think that's where the carryover lies and is created is you're going to do these things. You're not going to cheat on the diet. You're going to stick to whatever you're doing from a diet standpoint, and no cheat meals, nothing, no alcohol, the whole thing. Read 10 pages, no matter what. I can't tell you how many times I would lay down in bed I'd be like, oh my God, did I read today? And I would get up out of my bed and be like, nope. Pop open a book, lights on, and you're wide awake. And for me, like, if I don't, once I'm in bed, I'm laying down, to get up and to start doing something new, it's like starting over, and it's like a couple hours before I'm going to be able to fall asleep. That's just how my body works. So I have to be really intentional with scheduling my time. But with everything else, what you have to do, you know you're going to accomplish it and get it done.
Yeah, and I am horrible at reading. I don't know if it's true or just stuff that people beat into my head, but you know, the ADD and all the stuff that is, I never read in my life. Like even when I went to college, I got books on tape. You know, I listened to audiobooks all the time. I can't tell you the last time I read a book before I went on 75 Hard. And, you know, like, I was really afraid of that. I was like, man, I'm not... Because I know, like, a lot of times I would read stuff, just paragraphs or whatever, or an article, and I would get done reading it, and I couldn't tell you 5 words that I read in the whole thing. So I was intimidated by it. But one of the things I've noticed is, now that I've done it for the last, I don't know, 400 of the last 450 days, I actually do absorb a little bit of it. I don't think it's cheating. I do modify it a little bit where I'll buy the audio book and I'll buy the physical book and I will read the book as the audio book is playing in my ear. So I'm hearing it and reading it at the same time. I tend to absorb that a lot better. I tend to really, really be able to take that in. And then I probably listen to the audio book one more time after I'm done reading it to really, really get it done. But it was one of those things also that you hear in 75 Hard. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we've been told our whole lives that isn't really true. You know, that may have been your parents' interpretation of thing or some people in your neighborhood's interpretation of thing, but I can read and I can retain information if I just practice it and have the zero option mentality. It doesn't really matter whether I can absorb it or not. I'm going to read 10 pages every day. That's the way it is.
Yeah, and over time, you see, like to your point, you see that you can do those things. So your thing with reading was my thing with the water, right? You have to drink a gallon of water. I'm not a water drinker. I drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee.
So we'll finish up a little bit more with 75 Hard because it's such an important part. What is your favorite thing about it now that you have done it through it a couple different times? What do you think is the one thing where you're like, man, I am so glad this?
Discipline.
Yeah.
100% discipline. Having the discipline to know that those things are going to get accomplished every day. Having the discipline to be intentional about those things. When I first did 75 Hard, I was so out of shape that it was 2 walks a day, and it was great. Now it's like, all right, how can I improve my body? All right, what I'm putting in my body, how can I improve what I'm eating? When I first started 75 Hard, I was plant-based, and that was what I chose as my diet. But like whole food plant-based, not I'm going to go to, Chipotle and get,
You're not eating the Burger King.
Like not Impossible Burger.
Burgers?
No, not like that. Like I tried to do as much that wasn't processed. If I was going to go plant-based, I wanted to do it for health reasons.
Sure.
Since then, I started incorporating a little bit of fish and a little bit of dairy, not too much, back into my diet. But just to see how these things are impacting both how I feel as well as my performance when I'm working out and when I'm exercising. Nice. It's been really cool. Discipline, though, hands down, and the ability to create discipline and to have the clarity that comes with removing all these toxins from your body has been awesome. And you can't, it's like, being a parent, you can rave about it all you want until someone does it and goes through it and experiences it themselves. It's very difficult for that person to understand and to be able to experience that through another person's words.
Were you a disciplined person before 75 Hard? Or I mean, I guess you can't be if you're 80 pounds overweight kind of thing.
80 pounds overweight, you're smoking.
Right.
Like, you do things that aren't probably the best decisions.
Sure. There's a big difference between motivated and business successful and being disciplined. You know what I mean? Like I had a little bit of that, but I definitely was not disciplined.
Yeah. Now it's like on days that you don't want to do it, you still do the things. Yeah. Right? And it's not just 75 Hard, all the things.
Yeah.
Right? Work, family, kid, like whatever it may be.
It's funny. Rob Dial is one of the guys that I listen to his podcast all the time, and he talks about the cold showers. And he said he wakes up every morning at 5:00 in the morning and gets into a cold shower before 5:15. Like, that's his thing. He does a 5 or a 10-minute cold shower every day. And he said he doesn't do it just because of the medical benefits for a cold shower, which are lowering your blood pressure, all that stuff. He said he does it because every day when he wakes up, his head says, don't take the cold shower.
Yeah.
This is going to suck.
Yep.
You're going to hate this. And every day that his head tells him that, and he does it anyway, he believes that it triggers the wiring in his head to just do the stuff that you don't want to do. To just fight through the stuff that your head gives you the negative self-talk.
100%. It's interesting. I had a one-to-one with a Harvest member that earlier this week who I've never had a chance to connect with. And we were talking about the cold showers and, ice baths and doing those things. So I've never done an ice bath before. I'm going to try one. I'm not going to say I'm going to try one. I'm going to do one.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking into reincorporating the cold showers. When I was doing phase 1 and 3, when you have to do them, I would do my first exercise, get all sweaty and nasty, hop in the shower, take a shower, and then switch it over to cold. And, the first, I would say, week of cold showers was like brutal. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, maybe I'll just do 75 hard again and not finish through. Mm-hmm. But like, it's 5 minutes. Is it really, suck it up? That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah. And
I did it. And after a week, I started enjoying it. It was like, I don't like what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it well, and it's easy, and it's done. It's pretty. It made you feel a little badass.
Yeah.
And
the weird thing for me with the cold showers was I did my cold showers at the end of every night. And originally I thought, man, that's going to wake me up and keep me awake. But it really was the total opposite. Like, after I did everything that I had to do for the whole day, like, my wife will joke around about it. When I got out, I did the 5 minutes. I had my timer on. When that 5-minute timer went off and I turned the shower off, I had 7 minutes, maybe, before I was out like a light. Like, I would come in and sit down, towel off, and get in bed and start to talk to my wife and have a conversation. And out mid-conversation, just like, it drained everything, all the last bit of energy I had in my body. It took it all to warm myself back up again and get me back from the frigid part of it. And I was like, you know what? I dig that. I only do it occasionally. If I took a shower before I went to bed every night, I probably would do cold, but I shower in the morning. And
the same way.
So I'm like, when I was doing the cold showers, I was taking 2 a day, but I don't like to do it so much. But the cold plunge, if they weren't like $4,700, I would already have one. Because I looked at it and I'm like, man, I really want to do it. And I looked it up. I'm like, I just can't. I can't do that. I can't justify it right now. You know what I mean? Like, the ice baths, the ice barrels are cool, but who the hell's got all that ice? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't keep it cold over time. Like, you literally got to load it with ice every time you get in it. Like, I'd have to actually buy an ice machine.
Well, the nice thing is, as you're doing your phase 3 in December, and you have to go out and talk to people every day, go buy a whole shit ton of ice at Wawa or the supermarket, and someone's be like, what are you doing with all this ice?
I'm going.
You don't have to spark conversation. They're going to spark conversation.
But you can only do that once, right? Or no, that's the random act of kindness is you can only do the same thing once.
I think the sparking with a stranger, it'll probably be a different stranger unless you happen to get on a roll with the same person. But that's...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've listened to the podcast about phase 3, and I'm going to do it again when I'm through. I have enough time. I know that I have enough time to have like 10 days between this 75 days and the phase 3 that I start up. Yeah. But I've done it, I think this is my 4th time doing the 75 Day.
Wow.
I completed it twice.
Well, remember, you got to like in the 60s or 70s the one time,
I was on day 73.
Yeah, I remember you were like right at the end, and then you got hurt. You got sick.
I got a blood infection in my leg.
It was crazy.
And I had to go to the hospital. And I tried to talk to the doctor, and they're letting me do curls in bed. And he's like, "No, you can't raise your blood pressure. You're done." And I was like, "Oh." So I got almost done once. Then I completed it twice. This is my 4th time doing the 75 Day, and like I said, I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it too, and I'll tell you, The last time I finished one was earlier this year, phase 3. I want to say it was like January, February, I can't remember. But I finished phase 3 earlier this year and did nothing with 75 hard until September. And I continued with almost all the habits. The water fell off. I wasn't drinking a gallon a day. Still drinking a lot more than I was.
Right.
The reading was not as consistent as I would have liked it to be. Exercise, diet, on point.
Yeah.
On point.
That's...
If I fell off with like something bad, like I had a bad meal, I had a bad meal, and that was it. It wasn't like a bad day or a bad weekend or a bad couple days. It was one, and that was it.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
You know, to really transform your lifestyle. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I struggle with that because I'll be like, look, I have 3 days. So I'm eating pizza. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna eat up on my 3 days. But I know that for me to get to where I want to get to, 75 hard isn't always going to be there, but it's not. I have to get to this is just how I live, rather than this is a limited period of time that I'm going through this.
100%. And whatever, like for me, because I've always struggled with my weight throughout my whole life, a lot of it was removing the relationship between food for myself. Like removing that relationship and looking at food as sustenance. And that was a really big mental thing for me to get through that really enabled me to move here and to be able to do this and to go plant-based.
It's funny. I say that in my mind, and then I eat a cheesesteak and I'm like, man, it's just so good. I can't, it's not sustenance no matter how I talk about it. But I like eating healthy if I can find stuff that tastes good. You know what I mean? Like when I say healthy, I don't mean like I'm not eating tofu or anything like that. I'll eat lean meats. I love asparagus. But I have a problem with the end of the night, whether it's sweets or high starches or whatever. That's where I struggle. I can eat good all day long. I can eat good all day long, and then it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm going downstairs, and I'm walking through, and I'm like, well, and I eat like a shark. I don't know if you're around people like that, but like, I cannot eat for 14 hours, and it doesn't really bother me. But if I start to eat, I don't stop eating until I'm full.
Have you ever done like intermittent fasting?
Yeah, I did. I did intermittent fasting, and I kind of do that now. I kind of, as along with what I do right now is a low carb diet. But I do normally not eat breakfast. I normally don't eat after 10 o'clock at night unless I've just finished the sporting event and I gotta get some energy in there. Yeah. I do that, but even so, it's good when I'm on 75 hard. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? I'll walk by the chips, I'll walk by everything, and I just keep going, and I'm good. But it's the times where I'm not on that, where I'm like, well, you know, blah blah blah.
I hear you.
Crazy.
Listen, but over time, it gets better, right? And it doesn't always go away right away.
Yeah.
It gets better, and I'm the same way. It continues to improve. Like there'll be times where I'm hungry, and like almonds is my go-to, right?
Love
it. But
it.
almonds are super high in fat.
Yeah.
Right. So if you eat too many almonds, you are packing calories.
Sure.
Quick. So that's for me. I have to like monitor that. All right, instead of the almonds, I'm going to do broccoli and cauliflower and dip it in hummus. Like I have to be intentional about those decisions.
Right.
But it doesn't work every time.
Yeah, it doesn't, and you know whatever.
Yeah.
You know you got to live a little bit
for sure.
You know? All right, so let's talk about some. I always do goals.
Yep.
Let's talk about September of 2024. Tell me some things Jeff Harris is going to accomplish between now and September 2024. What's on your vision board? What's your goals?
So in 2 years, I will have completed a half marathon and a marathon.
All right.
There you go, people. Hold me to it.
Hold it. All right.
Ask.
I'm going to.
And I will have completed Spartan races.
Okay.
There's, from what I understand, there's 3 kinds of Spartan races. I'm going to butcher the names, so I'm just going to call them short, medium, and long.
Okay.
We'll have accomplished each one of those.
All right.
So from a health and fitness standpoint, that's where I would like to be. I'd like to see my business, JMGB, at a spot where we're bringing on multiple staff members to handle the administrative things, because if there are multiple people handling administrative work, that means that the business has grown to a place where it has obviously a ton more revenue, which is wonderful, which is where we always want to go and continue to grow the business too. I think I'll leave it right there for the,
Okay.
for the moment. And
All right.
I'll, there might be some other things that come up, and those will likely happen in Deep Roots.
Sure.
That's like a really good place
Yep.
to work together, which we've talked about.
Yep.
But those are what I have in mind for now.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much for stopping by the neighborhood.
Great
We'll
to
be
here,
right
Gabriel.
back next week with another edition of Mr. Mortgage's Neighborhood. Thank you guys.